So by the time I finished doing a couple of jobs I mentioned, and then the loo paper roll full of other jobs that my lovely lady wife gave me to do, didn't have any time to talk about what I was going to talk about. So I thought, bring you along with me today. I'm off to France again, going down, ended up down near the Swiss border before I start coming back up. But I thought, as a point of interest, while I'll show you the procedure of getting onto the train, Channel Tunnel, from the haulage side and prospective side of things. I'm sure a lot of you have done it in your cars, but I'll just show you through the procedure we go through on the lorries, and then once we're over the other side and we're on the road a little bit, again I'll give you a little bit of the scenery, and I'll talk a load of rubbish about ponds and how eco-friendly is our equipment. So coming down to the Channel Tunnel in just a bit, and I'll pick it up then, and you can see what's happening as we go through the tunnel. Catch you in a minute. So just coming down to the slip road to come off the M20 onto the Channel Road slip road, junction 11A. First port of call will be, as you'll see in a minute, is an automatic check-in point. Literally just queue up, get up to a little self-service ticket booth, check all your details, input your registration, answer a few questions, and then get issued with a ticket, and then you're actually into the system. Then you've got to go through various checks, passport, customs, a quick search and everything like that. French passport control, if they're then. They're not always there, but being the daytime, I should imagine they are.
Keep left to Bargrove. In 3/4 of a mile, keep left to Bargrove.
Like I said, just pulling up to the check-in point. There's my ticket. Morning. Cheers, my love. Thank you. Next we come round into the searchy areas. Paperwork on. Hello, mate. Thank you. French passport control. Let's see if there's anybody in the office. I can't see anybody sat in the chairs. No, straight through. Here's the second passport booth. Bonjour. Let's see. While they insist on flaming stamping your passport every single time, I don't know, I'm going to run out of space. Right, so just find out what lane we need. Because open lorries like I got don't go on any A. So hit lane A and follow lane A.
Keep left to Bargrove. In half a mile, turn left onto Bargrove.
Just sit here until the lights change, which means there's a train available. So I'll catch you again in a minute. So we'll even sat there 5 minutes and we're off. Surprisingly quiet actually today.
Turn left onto Bargrove.
Still unloading the train that we're supposed to be getting on. Pick it up. If you look down there, that's the train I'll be getting on, and you can see they're coming off, and the bit I'll be going in, they're still sat there at the back there. There's an Eddie Stobart's at the back, but yeah, we'll be going in there. Try and zoom in a bit so you can sort of see a bit better. There you go. But anyway, put your back down and then we'll pick it up when we're getting on the train. So we're off, boarding commencing. Be honest with you, there's not a lot of room actually getting on to these things. The actual loading carriage, which is sort of like a flat deck, you sort of like got to come in, and you see in a second you've got to sort of like swing onto it and then get yourself lined up to go into the train carriage. And there's not a lot of room for a standard size trailer, but because I have what they call a low loader trailer, they're generally sort of like a few meters longer than a standard trailer, so it is a little bit tight getting on. If you don't get it right, then your tyres know about it, because you hit the old bump stops.
In 1 3/4 miles, keep left toward Ramsgate.
No, I'm getting on the train. I'm not going by ferry. It's like being married sometimes, the sat nav. A few more lorries turned up behind me. And a van. Because I'm that bit longer, I have to do what you're not supposed to do and just clip off the other side a little bit. Go. Right, so that's us, we're on. So now I just need to get out and get on the bus so I can pick you up at the other end. So, now in France, I ain't gonna bother to sort of take you up to where I do my paperwork and all that lot. You've seen all that before, so I'll probably pick you up either later on today or sometime tomorrow when we're on our way down to my first drop-off. But as you can see, about to come off the train. See if I get pulled by for a customs check or not.
Leave the ferry.
Little bit confusion.
At the roundabout, take the second exit to E15.
the green arrow, which means I can go straight through without having to go to customs. So I can go straight up to Calais, up to the clearing centre. So that's all good. So I will catch you guys again later on. Stay safe. Pump, water pump. Another pump. UV. 30 watt. Air source heat pump. Air pump. Air pump. Control box. So nice. Right, so on the road, already been down sort of like over towards the Swiss border, and I'm not heading back up now, just on the outskirts of Gay Paris. Disneyland's not too far away, just down the road here. But question is, are we contributing to global warming by having koi ponds? If you think about it, I mean, you got your home, you're running all your electrical equipment in your home already. You got your TVs, your cookers, your toasters, your kettles, your microwaves, your lights. Everything's becoming energy efficient now. It's all LED lighting, and whereas it used to be the old 60 watt and 100 watt light bulbs and that, I think they're now about sort of like 6 watt and 9 watt for the same sort of light, if not more light. So things are moving on there. Everything is sort of like USB charged now, so which is sort of like a lot less wattage to power things up and charge them. Even microwaves and things like that are becoming more efficient. And kettles are kettles, they'll never change. I mean, because of the way they work. You know, for every kilowatt of power you put into a kettle, you get a kilowatt of energy out. So, but when you add a pond to it, as you just saw from the clip there, you add a lot of electrical equipment to your household load. As you can see, I had 2 water pumps, I've got 2 air pumps, I've got my UV, I've got my air source heat pump, and then I've got my Senai monitoring. Just trying to think, was there anything else? No, the rest of the stuff I've got sort of like on there, me sort of temperature monitor and all that lot are all battery powered. But yeah, so you know, that's just my little pond, you know, and I haven't got a massive pond. But a little bit of good news is that all pond equipment manufacturers do seem to be producing a lot more eco-friendly pond equipment. Everything now is, if you read the boxes, is eco this and eco that, which basically just means that they're using a lot less power to do the job that they used to do before. For instance, take your sequence pumps. There's a picture of one here. This is a newish one and it's a bit more energy efficient, but these were originally designed and are still used on swimming pools filtration systems. And let's say you're turning over 10,000 litres an hour. I mean, I remember I had a sequence pump a long time ago, and so what I had was a 10,000 litre, and that used 450 watts for 10,000 litres an hour. Yeah, they're very strong, very solid pumps, and didn't lose a lot of head height with them, but God, they used a lot of power. And I now use a Vary pump. Well, I use a Vary pump and a standard pump, which will be swapped to a Vary pump as well in the skimmer. That is, but my Vary pump is a 10,000 litre an hour one, and maximum output on that at full chatter 10,000 litres an hour, minus head height and all this sort of bends and stuff like that, but minus 10,000 litres an hour is 85 watts maximum. I've got that set on 70%, and that's on 50 watts. That is 50, so yeah, 70% is on 50 watts of power, which for running, you know, a water pump is next to nothing really. But, you know, is there ways you can still sort of like cut back on energy usage further and but still run a pond efficiently? Well, just spoke about the vary pump. A lot of people are still using, you know, non-vary pumps, I suppose you call them. You buy a 15,000 litre an hour pump, and that is a 15,000 litre an hour pump. Do you need 15,000 litres an hour? Sling a vary pump in there, say a 20,000 litre vary pump, yeah, you know, your initial energy usage might be high if you're whacking 20,000 litres through, but play around with it, get the right flow you want, and don't forget, filtration works better sometimes if you actually lower things down and slow the water so you've got more dwell time with your filter media. You know, it's finding that right balance. You know, one, you're doing your filters better, two, you're saving energy, and three, it works out cheaper in your electric bill. So that's one recommendation I'd give is, yeah, go for a vary pump. Roadworks. But yeah, so now air pumps. Air pumps have come on leaps and bounds over the years, sort of like energy usage wise. I'm using the Jacko J-Bod ones. Primarily, one, because of budget, but second reason I picked them up because it's whenever I do purchase anything, I do look at the wattage, because how many watts they use, and I find them sort of like some of the lowest wattage ones available on the market, plus they're very quiet. And yeah, I've had one go on me, but it was replaced like that as soon as I phoned up. Said, yeah, it's got me.
In
went,
1
yeah,
mile,
okay,
take
throw it
the
away, we'll send you
exit
a new one.
on the
I'm like,
right to
happy days.
A104 toward
Now the
Lille.
question is though, is do I need to have two? Because I'm running a small one, sort of like 45 litres an hour, 45 litres a minute or whatever it is, on my bottom drain, and then I've got 100 on my moving bed media. Yes, I could maybe go to 150, put a splitter on, split the difference and run the two off, and yeah, all right, you're going up to 150, which would mean it's more wattage, but because you're minusing one pump, you know, it could work out to be less wattage. So, you know, you'd have to look at it all together and have a look and just see for yourselves. So just doing the maths, so my PA100, it's 65 watts, that's for 100 litres of water, air in a minute. The 35 is 20 watts, it gives me a total of 85 watts, whereas the PA150 is 125 watts at 125 litres per minute. So you can actually see that having the two smaller pumps works out cheaper to run than having the larger 150 pump. How much it works out for. But because during winter time, what I tend to do, I haven't yet, I will show you it when I do it, is once I bring my temperatures down to about 16, I then put my bottom drain pump on the timer, so it'll come on for a few hours, go off for a few hours, come on for a few hours. Don't forget my water's getting oxygenated from my moving bed, plus I've still got the shower going, so that's oxygenating as well, so it's just putting enough oxygen into the water. The bottom drain is basically a little bit of extra oxygen, plus, you know, pushing all the rubbish and detritus down to the bottom drain. But because you're feeding less in winter, cooler water temperatures and that lot, you don't need to have so much oxygen going in. So, sorry, I'm just concentrating on the road. So that's one area you can look at and sort of maybe do what I do. There are some people who turn their air off altogether during winter. especially the non-heaters, because you don't need it going. You don't need. Yeah, change the surroundings. Not in the lorry anymore. As you saw, camera went over, hit a big bump on one of the roads going around Paris, and when I picked it up and pulled over, picked it up, put it back on the dash, and started recording again. Yeah, got all the video, but for some reason there's no audio. Yeah, don't get it. Anyway, so back home now, and in more comfortable surroundings. Anyway, so as I was saying about how eco our ponds are and what you can do to sort of like maybe save a bit of money and help out save the planet a little bit. So I spoke about pumps and that a lot, and I sort of said switching to a vary pump would help. Now, those of you who already got vary pumps and running vary pumps, have you thought about what difference knocking it back sort of like 10, 20, 30% would make? Would it harm your pond? Now, I've got a 10,000 litre vary pump on my pond, but I don't run it at that. I run it at 70%. Because running it through a Nexus, and it's finding that sweet spot with a Nexus where flow rate and dwell time in the media, a pizza. So I'm running mine at 70%. So those of you who've got sort of like 10,000, 20,000, or even the big 30,000 litre an hour pumps, how many of you are running them full pelt, or anybody knocking them back a bit? And if you've already knocked them back, have you thought what difference knocking them back another 10% would make? Anyway, got a little chart here of difference, sort of like running mine at 100% and then down at 70%. And I'll just show you that. So let's say you're running a 10,000 litre vary pump at 100%, which gives you 88 watts per hour. Times that by 24 hours, that's 2,112 watts. Times that by 365 days of the year, give you 770,880 watts. So let's say you're paying 15p per kilowatt as your household bill. So over the year, it's £115, 63p. So let's say you knock that back to 70 watts, 70%. So that equals 54 watts with mine. Times that by 24 hours, that's 1296 watts. Times that by 365 days, gives you a total of 473,040. So again, 15p per kilowatt, that equals £70 and 95p. So that saves you £44, 68 pence. Don't sound a lot, but it helps, and it also goes towards saving the planet. Yeah, so, saves you a bit of money, 30% off of your pump. 44 quid. It don't sound a lot over a year, but, it all helps. It's all money in your pocket. And it also helps out with the environment, saving energy, blah, blah, blah. So another thing, UVs, UV lights. Most of us have got them, and but have you thought about the size of UV you got? Now, I've seen it a lot of the times on a lot of ponds where a lot of people tend to overdo it on the size of their UV. You see 110 watt UVs on a pond where a 55 watt will do the job. Now, my pond out there, in the summer, it's in full sun virtually all day. It's and it's not got shade on it. I might put a sail up in the summer when it gets really, really, really hot, but most of the time it's left open to the elements. I think it helps with the colour on the koi, but I'm only running a 30 watt UV in there, and whereas most people would probably put a 55 watt in. So again, think about the size of your UV light. Is it necessary? Well, unfortunately, yes, it is in an artificial environment that we do have in ponds. Algae bloom is going to happen where green water, especially with fish waste and, debris in the ponds and everything like that. It's just one of them things, and the UV is necessary to keep the water clear. I mean, it doesn't do the fish any harm, but it's something we need. So think about it. You know, have you got the right size UV on your pond? Are you over UVing? Sounds a bit weird. Are you over UVing? But yeah, so maybe cut that back. You know, trade it in or sell it on and get a smaller one and see if your pond manages with a smaller one. Again, it all counts. You know, it's about future thinking, and not so much for us, me, you. You know, if you're an old fogey like me, I'm not long for this world. But yeah, it's for sort of like our children and our grandchildren. You know, we got to think about them. Now, another thing you can maybe think about is if you've got a drum filter, as some drum filters, rather than sort of like when the water level drops, it sets off the cleaning process. Some drums have timer functions on there as well, so they clean every half hour, every hour, whatever, which they do use quite a bit of electricity when they're going through the cleaning process, as well as water, obviously. So as you've got to think about as well, saving water, trickle in, trickle out. Yeah, but just talking about energy at the moment. So if you've got that capability and you've got it switched on, then maybe sort of like, I believe you can turn it off so you haven't got it, have it set on a timer and just have it set on the dirty. So when it clogs up, obviously the water level drops off, the sensor picks it up and it triggers the cleaning process rather than having it doing every hour. I mean, if it don't work out for you, and you know, it's not working properly or your pond ain't getting clean properly, you can always switch back on again. But it's just something else you've got to think about. You know, like I said, it's not just for the environment, it's all pennies in the pocket, really, isn't it? Which is really important at the moment. Rant time, right? Weekly shop, right? I got I had a receipt from about three and a half months ago, I think it was. And I bought almost exactly the same items last week. Yeah, it's cost me 55 quid more for the same stuff. Ridiculous. Why is everything going up so much? I mean, I know they're trying to blame it on the lorry driver shortage and Brexit and that lot, but I can tell you now, goods are still moving around this country like they were before. So it's just profiteering, I think. Anyway, rant over. Back to what we were talking about. So yeah, maybe sort of like try and cut that out. So you know, like I said, it just cleans when the screen gets dirty, rather on a timer. Food for thought. Now, you know, that's just a few ways that you can sort of save money and a few things you've got to think about. But those you ain't constructed a pond yet, maybe sort of start thinking about when you're building your pond, how can you make it as eco-friendly as possible? You know, how can you construct a pond? Well, one of the big things that's going around in Europe, especially sort of like the Benelux countries, Germany and that lot, is instead of having sort of like pumps like we have, they use airlift filtration systems. If you sort of have a quick Google on airlift filtration and stuff like that, it's quite interesting, and the energy costs, the energy differences between that and sort of like the ponds we run is quite staggering. I think Vince from Twisted Koi is running an airlift on his front pond, and the little grow on it he's constructing in his back garden. The last video I saw, I believe he was saying he was going to do another airlift on that. So, you know, maybe that's something you can think about. You know, I hear people screaming out there saying, well, yeah, but, you know, our ponds are doing a bit for the environment, you know, because we're adding water to the garden and, you know, it's, you know, encouraging nature, and that's how we can offset our electricity charges. Yes, you know, certain ponds do, but I mean, your average koi pond, which is what we're all here all about sort of thing, is not really a wildlife friendly environment, really, is it? you know, there's differences. You know, people like Righty, who's got his in-ground pond, and you know, he adds planting and all that lot to it. Yeah, you might find that he gets a little bit of wildlife in there, but your average koi pond is virtually devoid of any other life apart from koi. I mean, koi being omnivores such as they are, if you get any frogs turn up in your pond and trying to lay frog spawn, that ain't going to last 2 seconds with a koi around. Insects, caddisfly larvae and mosquito larvae and stuff like that. Yeah, that's just going to be food for your koi. So, you know, any life other than koi, and by design that's how we want it anyway, isn't sort of like going to be surviving in your average. I'm not saying every koi pond, because I mean, I do know cases where there are koi ponds with frogs and newts and everything like that, and maybe when you're building your koi pond, you might all sort of like think, yeah, I fancy a bit of that. I want a koi pond and a nature pond. I have seen them where they've actually sort of like had 3/4 of the pond devoted to koi, and then they've had sort of like a separator in between sort of thing, not necessarily wire mesh, but stop the koi getting through, and the other end sort of like dedicated to nature. And it is surprising how things can separate their way through. But like I said, it's not really, you can't really sort of use that as an excuse to justify your expenses, offsetting, carbon offsetting as they call it. Well, that's what the petrol companies are trying to call it. Buy our petrol and we'll plant a tree for every 10,000 litres. Yeah, no, it don't work. No. But one of the biggest uneco-friendly things in our hobby is the transportation of Japanese koi to the UK. Now, we all love our Japanese koi, and, you know, many of it, you know, me included, I buy Jap fish. I've got UK bred fish as well, but to get the bloodlines over and everything like that. Now, for an average flight from sort of like Japan to United Kingdom, you're using around about 159,000 litres of AVTAG, or aviation fuel, I should say. Yeah, so 159,000 litres, that's on a cargo flight. So you've got to think how much, you know, that is an awful lot of fuel and an awful lot of carbon emissions coming from the aircraft and stuff like that, CO2 and stuff like that when the engines burn. Yeah, planes are a lot more efficient than what they used to be, but yeah, so if you get a cargo flight from Japan to the UK, like I said, 159,000 litres of fuel. Yeah, there's going to be other goods on board, but sometimes sort of like in harvest time, after the harvest time and all the dealers have been over and brought their fish, I suppose some flights can be just almost koi, you know, filled up with almost koi going off to the various dealers and stuff like that. So it is a hell of a lot of fuel. And with modern breeders in the UK producing the fish that they're producing now, I mean, you've seen Alan Beyer stuff on my videos and a lot of the other YouTuber videos, you've seen the stuff that Alan Beyer's producing. You know, it's as good as anything coming out of Japan, in my opinion. I mean, it's not going to be everybody's opinion, and the purists out there will sort of say, no. It comes from Japanese bloodlines, and like I said, the quality is second to none. You know, and is this sort of something that's going to be sustained forever? If you live in Australia, I've got a few viewers out who live out in Australia and that lot, and they can't get Japanese koi, but that's not because of the cost of flight and doing good for the planet. It's on their quarantine laws and biosecurity laws. You know, they can't by law import fish from outside Australia. So all the fish that our Australian friends have in their koi ponds are all bred in Australia. You know, is this something that's going to happen in the UK? You know, it's all worth thinking about. The world's changing, and you know, is it changing fast enough? But anyway, I've waffled.
I've waffled enough, and I've probably talked a load of rubbish, and you're all falling asleep. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the little trip on the channel. I hope I gave you a bit of food for thought on the sort of like the energy of our koi ponds and how much we use, and possible routes for sort of saving a few bob. Anyway, everybody, look after yourself, stay safe, and back to normal koi videos next week, where I'm going to do the old yeah, going to do the bacteria dip test. Like I said, Adam come through in the post. Going to do that and sort of breed it, see how we get on, and hopefully, fingers crossed, not have anything. But on the other hand, it would be nice to have something to show you. But anyway, look after yourself, everybody. Stay safe. If you like the channel, please subscribe down below, and I'll see you next week. And remember, it ain't a hobby, it's a lifestyle. See you soon, people. Bye.